I'm in my parents' basement, and that flag was on my grandfather's coffin, World War I. This is the submarine my father served on. That would have been around 1960. He's going to be 80 years old this year. And I've been helping my parents get minimal to move into a condo or apartment. A house is getting to be too much for them. So I'm also getting rid of the few things I had left in their basement. The worst and most time-consuming part of becoming a full-time nomad by far is getting rid of all of your stuff. It took me 100 times longer than I ever imagined. I was very conflicted about getting rid of certain things. But this is all I have left now. A rowing machine, a dog stroller, and a bunch of DVDs. I'll eventually give my rowing machine to my brother and his wife. I did use it in the wintertime. And get rid of these DVDs. I'd like to keep the dog stroller somehow. I have no storage unit anywhere. Everything else I own is in my car. And it's a very liberating feeling. The only time I felt like I got rid of too much has been clothing related. I don't travel with a lot of cold weather clothes, but I end up just wearing layers of what I have. Minimalizing was a much longer process than I ever imagined, and I started 5 years ago when my husband passed away. I decided I didn't want to stay at our house anymore. It wasn't a big house, but it was bigger than what I needed. The people that bought my house also got all of my furniture and appliances. It was a young couple just starting out. I left all that behind with the intention of moving in with my parents and helping them out in their old age. But they didn't really need my help. They still don't, not yet anyway. So even though I moved into a small bedroom at my parents' house and had already gotten rid of so much, I still had a lot of stuff down here in the basement that I decided to get rid of before getting on the road a year and a half ago. Now, I'm not overly materialistic or anything, I don't think. I had probably an average amount of things, but it all accumulated over the decades. I kept having this evil voice pop into my head that would say, just in case. I better keep this just in case. But when months and years go by and just in case never happens, you have to just do it. Just get rid of it. The only thing that matter to me are family photos or videos. That's what's irreplaceable. So not only did I digitize all of my photos, but I digitized all of my parents' photo albums. There's photos in there going back generations. They are now safely on Google Photos and backed up on an external hard drive. So now no fire or flood can take any of that away from us, and I get to enjoy all my photos even though I live in a car. Scanning thousands of photos took a long time, but it's totally worth it. My mother is tickled pink that she can look at these photos on her iPad instead of rummaging around in the basement. She emails them to relatives and they reminisce. This was the only book I kept. I got it from a Route 66 museum in Oklahoma over 10 years ago. I kept it because I didn't think there would be a digital version of it available, but there is, so I'll be donating this too. If I had a time machine, driving on Route 66 a few decades ago would be on my list. It was tough to give up all my books, but what matters is the words on the page, not the paper itself, and that applies to music and movies. I recorded almost 300 movies from these DVDs onto this thumb drive, and thousands of hours of TV shows onto these external hard drives. Now I always have something to watch if I have no cell service while I'm traveling. I was looking for a movie called Lost in America. I was sure I owned a copy. Funny movie from the 1980s with Albert Brooks about a couple that got rid of everything they owned, got an RV and hit the road. Well, I'm sure it's on iTunes anyway. Scanning the family photos and recording all of these DVDs was very time-consuming, so don't wait until the last minute to do these things. Any important paperwork I have, such as my car title, fits in a safety deposit box at the bank. Digitizing has made minimalizing a lot easier. A lot of my things went to Salvation Army. I did sell a few items to pawn shops, They only buy what they can sell, though. They prefer jewelry and guns, collectible coins. It's worth giving it a shot and going in and seeing if a pawn shop buys anything you might have. I tried selling things on eBay without any luck. I also tried to think outside the box when it came to donating. For example, I had some dog supplies I no longer needed, like stairs for my little dog to get up on the couch. I went to the town animal shelter, or the dog pound as we used to call it, and they said, well, we really can't use these things like that here. So I suggested that if somebody comes in and adopts a small dog, you can give them these things as sort of a bonus. And they liked that idea, and they ended up taking a few things off my hands. I actually went to the animal shelter in the town that I grew up in, not the town that I'm in now, because that town is financially needier. That shelter is always full. I had a lot of arts and crafts supplies that I donated to the local mentor program, which is like the Big Brother, Big Sisters organization. And now my creative outlet is making videos of my travels, and that's been more than enough for me. So I tried not to give everything to Salvation Army and Goodwill. My best advice to offer is to start downsizing sooner rather than later if you have the desire to live full-time on the road someday. It was so much more work, and it took so much more time and effort than I ever imagined, especially if you're older like I am and have accumulated things for decades. Unlike us, people under the age of about 30 are more likely to have a lot of things like photos and books already digital. I don't miss any of the things I used to have. I never think about any of that stuff anymore. It's not important, it's unnecessary, and it's kind of a burden. My time is now filled with activities and experiences as I travel. And now that my possessions are almost all gone, I feel free.